Hello guys, this is avsongbird here. I didn't really plan on doing a vlog today, but I haven't done an actual just talking vlog about writing in a while, and I sat here for the last couple of hours because I've talked about the fact that I'm not really organized when it comes to my writing. I've always tried to be, but being a writer, when I have so many what if stories going on and I'm being scatterbrained and I have so many ideas and tangents I'm following to find out which one ends in the best story, sometimes it makes it hard to stay organized. And I laugh. Anyone that knows me, if you go through my files, I name story files based on, what's going on in the story, so I know, oh, that's that tangent from that decision. But I spent the better part of the afternoon going through my files looking for one in particular with a scene I absolutely had. It was a hard scene to write. It was a very emotional scene for one of my stories. But at the same time, it was a scene between two of my main characters in a story I've been working on for over 5 years. And when you work with characters for that long and you work with storylines for that long, you fall so far into it and you get so immersed in it. It's hard not to feel like those characters are kind of a part of you that you're putting out there. And this scene, it was a touching scene. They'd spent their lives together and they were old together. And they're sitting there at the end of their lives, and one of them was passing, getting close to passing away, and they're sitting there remembering back over their lives. And it's kind of a peaceful moment just shared between the two of them. It's not battle scenes, it's not love scenes, it's just one moment in time shared between a man and a woman who were head over heels in love with each other all their lives. And she's laying in the bed and he looks down at her and she says, "I'm sorry, I'm not the girl I always was, I'm not that girl anymore. I'm old now." And he grins and he looks at her and basically tells her, "You've always been that girl. I've always seen you as that girl. I don't care what you look like. I see you and I see her." And I was looking through my files today trying to find that one because I loved the way it turned out. And I couldn't find it, and I was freaking out going through my files all day trying to find it, and my husband telling me, "Oh, you'll find it, And I probably will. But I laugh because I've had scenes like that before that I've loved, that I've written, and I'll go back through, and if the computer glitches like it did earlier this year on me and it ate a part of a story that I loved, and I actually had to go back through and rewrite a big part, and I actually came to like what came after even more than what I lost. Just because focusing on what I'd lost and focusing on what was missing and what I liked about it and what I didn't allowed me to fall back into the story in a way I hadn't before, and made me kind of look at it differently because I had spent so much time on that part. And yeah, I'm kind of being vague about some of this stuff because some of it may end up being stuff I put out. One of these days I would love to put out, I someday want to be a published author. I would love that. One of my big dreams in my life since I was 8 years old and I wrote my first story was to get out there and to see my actual works in print. That's part of me getting me out there is, wanting to share my work with people, and the fact that I am so shy about sharing my work and shy as a person. I have people that talk to me now that come to my vlogs and go, "God, you're brave, you get up on camera, you must be a real out there, confident kind of person." And I'm not. I'm not this big deal. I was raised in a smallish town. It's not like a everybody knows everybody Mayberry kind of town, but I didn't grow up in the big city. I've lived in the same place most of my life, after my parents moved around everywhere and my dad, retired from the Air Force. But I don't think I'm a big deal, and people come to me and, like my writing and stuff, and my writing's one of the few things that I do feel confident in when I'm not sharing it with people. So the thought of sharing it with people makes me nervous. But I come to find out that there's people out there that are enjoying it like I do, and I laugh. The story I've been working on for 5 years. I have stories I've been working on the side just for myself, and I laugh. My husband's always, kind of, well, why are you working on those? And I laugh and tell him, well, you're not having to buy me housewife novels, are you? Everybody's got to have a hobby. I could sit there, and if it's quiet for a few hours, I go curl up with my laptop, and I told him flat out, you ought to be happy. It's one of the cheapest hobbies I could have. All I need is my laptop and my brain, and, I can keep me occupied. But I'm learning to write stories for other people, not just for myself. I can write and keep myself entertained. But I'm learning, like writing for my stepsons, for example. Writing stories for them, or having them come up to me and tell me, hey, I would like for you to write about this. And learning how to cater my stories written for them to them, and learning how to leave people on cliffhangers. And writing for yourself locked up in your room is so different than writing for other people. And it's weird for me now because, for example, I had someone come to me actually today that told me that he came across one of my poems on my poetry playlist, and that it gave him ideas, so he wrote background music or arranged background music. And he's, tinkering with my voice and stuff to come out with something completely different, an original, which it's a good feeling to know that I'm putting something out there that inspires a work in someone else. That's a big part of it. I'd love to be a muse for someone. But I don't know if I'm going to put this video out. I've been so busy lately with the Let's Plays and the family and the house and everything. I've had so much less time to focus on my writing, and whether or not I'm doing the writing, it's always in the back of my mind because it's always been such a huge part of who I am. I'll be sitting there having a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden my eyes will glaze over and I'll daze out, and it's like, I'm not trying to be rude. Something you said or something I saw or something I felt made my brain go that way. And my brain does that. And, most people in my life haven't understood it. And now that I have people that are starting to understand the way my brain works and the way my writing works, and I'm meeting more friends that think the same way as far as writers, creators, imaginers. It's really a good feeling. And I know I'm going to get off of here, and I'm going to spend the rest of the night just kind of trying to piece together that scene, because I spent a good couple of days on it. And I worked on it so hard, I can see it in my head. The two of them curled up together, him holding onto her, and they're laying in their big, huge bed. And no, guys, it's not dirty. It's, two older people have been in love all their lives. And they're sharing that moment, and it's so emotional because he knows she's slipping away. And she's the love of his life, and he's the love of hers. And them looking back over their lives together and everything they've had together, and knowing their family is in the other room, and them both feeling that they don't want to let go. It was a hard scene to write. It was an emotional scene to write. As a writer, I try to put myself as deep into my works as I can. Because I know if I don't convey the feeling through my work, then it's going to be flat to the reader. It's not going to mean anything. And I don't ever want people to think that I put words to paper and put it out there just looking for a quick paycheck, or that I put it out there and it doesn't mean anything to me. I write because it all means something. Words are powerful, and stories, there are stories that endure, and there's stories that touch people. There's stories that follow you, that haunt you. And I have stories I've worked on. My husband says I'm egotistical because he asked, and I had a friend ask me, what's your favorite book ever? And I've got books I love to read. I've got authors I follow, that I read. And I've been told I'm not a reader of books. I'm a devourer. I actually read the first Hunger Games in 6 hours. I didn't even stop to go to the bathroom. I read the Hunger Games in 6 hours. I read over 100 Walking Dead comics over the course of one weekend. It was a highly caffeinated weekend, but I'm a devourer of books. But my husband said I was kind of egotistical because someone asked me, what's your favorite book to read? And someone once said, if you can't find the book you want to read, write it. And I have to admit, I find myself falling back on old stories and reading through more often than I find myself anymore going to the bookstore. And it's not me trying to be egotistical, it's growing up being shy, growing up moving all over. I kind of always felt like an outsider around people, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not trying to make people feel bad. It was something I accepted. I was always shy, and I laugh. People that know me go, well, no, you're not. Well, if you know me, I'm not shy around you, am I? But part of doing the vlogging and everything is helping me come out of my shell and helping me kind of increase my confidence as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, and definitely as a writer, because now I write a story, I put it out there, and I'm getting feedback from people, so I go, okay, this is what I do right, this is what I need to fix for next time, and I have stories that I get excited about sharing because I find that people get as excited about it as I get about it. Because when I sit down and write a story, I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know everything about everything that's going on. I see it in my head. It plays out like a movie, especially when I get so far into a story, You develop the characters, you develop the lands, you develop everything, and after you build everything from nothing, you get to where you see and hear the characters walk and move and talk, and you can tell, okay, this one would act this way, but that one would act that way. And, I sit there and just to see if the dialogue flows, sometimes I'll say it out loud, which makes me really glad we don't have roommates. People would think I'm nuts sitting here having dialogue. But I go back and I read old stories and not feeling, really involved with people moving around all the time when I was younger. Being able to fall into my stories like that made me feel like I belonged to something, like I had something that other people didn't have, as far as being able to fall into a world of my own. Where I didn't have to be shy, where I didn't have to be self-conscious about what people thought of me, or how I thought, or what, how my brain worked, because you don't have to worry about that in your own head. But, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm just rambling. It was the first thing that I ever really fell in love with, was a passion of writing when I was little. And it's always been there with me, no matter how good or bad life gets, no matter who comes or goes, And knowing I still have it, and knowing that I can now share it with other people. I would love to be able to do that. I would love to be able to write stories that inspire great works in people and that touch people. And I may not post this one because it's just me being rambly and just me being candid, but I don't personally know many writers in my life. People that have an idea hit them in the middle of dinner in a restaurant and would do anything to just have a pen to be able to scribble it down on the napkin. You know, I mean, everyone has their passions. Everyone wants them to be understood. I guess what I'm trying to do in talking to you guys about this is looking for some kind of understanding. You know, because I never understood growing up why no one could understand that about me. You know, that it's not a hobby, that it's not something I choose to do, it's something I'm driven to do. I had a point in my life where it drove me crazy because I had so many people telling me I was wasting my time, that it would never be anything, that, you know, it would never go anywhere. I had a point in my time I tried to stop writing. And I put my pencil down and I closed Word out and I tried to walk away, and it drove me crazy. You know, because I'd sit there and even if I didn't write the words out, they would still spin around in my head and the stories would just go. And I started writing again, and all of a sudden it was like I came alive again. I felt real. Ironically, in my head makes me feel real, you know, and I feel most alive when I'm doing it, and I don't understand why. I've never really understood why. It's just, it's there, and it always was. And getting to game and everything with everyone is a lot of fun, and it's taking a lot of time, but the writing's always at the back of my head. And I've got a scene I'm supposed to be rewriting right now. I can see him so clearly in my head and the smiles on their faces, and he knows, you know, that he's got to say goodbye, but he can't bring himself to do it. And she's not going to say goodbye because she always swore she'd never say goodbye to him. And don't get me wrong, I love writing scary stories. I love writing funny stories. I love writing all kinds of stories, but being able to convey emotion and to show the relationship between all of my characters and how they start and how they develop, and showing how complicated things get and showing what they all mean to each other. That's the biggest part of my stories. And I laugh at how many times stupid little scenes that don't seem like a big deal can change so much in a story. You know, and I'm sorry I rambled on for so long, you guys. I'm probably not going to post this because I know it embarrasses me, you know. I'm in love with it. And I have been for most of my life. And I get off talking about it, and I could talk about it forever. It's the one thing that when people ask, what are you? Before I say anything else, I'm a writer. Whether I'm ever published, whether I'm not, I am a writer. It's what I do. It's who I am. But I'm probably not going to post this because it's just me. You know, I'm not wearing makeup. I don't even have my earrings in because I was Look, I'm in my tank top. But I threw my coat on because I swore to you guys you'd never see me actually sitting here and, you know, my wife beater with almost no sleeves. But I was just going to throw my hair up and run and try to work out this scene in my head while I do it. But I wanted to sit down and talk to myself, I guess, and kind of hash out how I'm feeling. But yeah. This has been AV Songbird, just being candid, talking about my writing and where my head kind of is at the moment. It's not here, it's back in the Middle Ages somewhere with a man and woman who are, kind of going through a big thing right now. But this has been AV Songbird. I know I've said my name a few times, but you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.